An amazing interview, a horrible performance by a government minister highlight yet another terrible failure by this Albanese Labor government. Like its other failures, this one comes about because the Albanese government is driven by ideology and virtue signalling instead of just doing what works in reality. Remember, the Coalition introduced the cashless debit card in 4 trial sites with large Indigenous populations, the Kimberley and Goldfields in WA, Bundaberg, Hervey Bay area in Queensland and Ceduna in South Australia. The cashless debit card system, or CDC, quarantined 80% of welfare payments to be spent on necessities, so it couldn't be spent on grog or gambling or the like. And there was plenty of evidence it was working, reducing alcohol abuse, cutting crime and violence, and improving outcomes for children. But Labor couldn't get rid of it soon enough, abolishing the scheme within months of coming to power because they reckon it stigmatised the participants. Anyway, a few months ago, Adelaide University handed over a review to the government into what happened after the cashless debit card was scrapped. And there's no escaping the findings, which paint a disturbing picture. The review found that qualitative evidence suggests alcohol consumption and misuse increased considerably after the CDC program was scrapped. Public drinking and intoxication was also perceived to have risen, along with consumption of heavier booze and alcohol-related violence. The review also found there were declining levels of child well-being and welfare after the card was scrapped, with some children not being fed or clothed properly, not attending school, and being out on the streets unsupervised at night. So they scrapped the card, and that's what happened. What a disgraceful outcome. So I want to share with you some of a radio interview with the responsible minister, Social Services Minister Amanda Rishworth, because her level of denial and obfuscation is something else. She told the ABC's David Bevan that there was no causal link between the abolition of the card and the rising social problems.
Minister, that's not quite what the report found, is it?
Well, it is what the report found. I can read no causal statements can be issued from the analysis.
Well, I can find another bit in the report that says, under the heading of alcohol, illicit drug and gambling misuse, the qualitative evidence suggested that alcohol consumption and misuse increased considerably in Ceduna, East Kimberley and the Goldfields following the cessation of the program. The incidents of public drinking and intoxication were also perceived to have risen, along with the consumption of higher alcohol products and rates of alcohol-related violence.
So that is the perception that people had, or some people had. I'll also read you a quote from Ceduna. Everyone thinks it's the card, the abolishment of the CDC, but it depends on things like weather, payday, the seasons. That all has an impact.
The trouble for the minister in this case is that she was being interviewed by a very good and fair journalist. Yes, at the ABC, they do have them. And he knew his stuff, and he wasn't going to accept illogical responses.
So you've got this report, and I'm starting to wonder what the point of the report was, because you're saying, well, there were stakeholders who said there was increased violence, there was increased drug use, there was increased gambling and alcohol, there was increased misuse and abuse of children, but you're saying, well, there was no causal link.
No. And then there were other people that had a different viewpoint.
Yeah. So what's the point in the review? If you're saying, well, there was no causal link, well, what was the point in the report?
Well, I would say that the limitations of the report are outlined in the report. I'm getting on with the job now of making sure that we are putting things in place that support people.
Now, yes, people can cherry pick from this report because everyone gets a say. So it's partly about who you listen to for expert advice. So let's go back to the report. And it shows that the majority of past cashless debit card holders say they're glad it's been scrapped because it removes perceived discrimination and stigmatisation, and there's the prospect of new programs to replace it. But a majority of the stakeholders are disappointed the scheme's been scrapped and they think the card had positive impacts, and they reckon there's been an increase in social problems since it was scrapped. So who are these stakeholders? Well, they're the people you would want to take notice of. People like the local police, welfare agencies, community groups, teachers, business owners, child protection officers and Indigenous groups. And a majority of these stakeholders reckon the card worked. But Rishworth ignores them.
And a clear majority of the stakeholders thought that ending the cashless debit card had had very negative impacts. Very negative in terms of caring for children, in terms of violence, in terms of gambling, illicit drug use and alcohol abuse.
Is a range of views, and when you look at what causes things, I'll also read you something else from the report.
Sure.
Several factors limited the review's ability to directly attribute observed impacts to the cessation of the CDC program.
Look, this minister refused to even say whether the data shows crime and other problems have become better or worse since the scheme was scrapped. A cynic might think that whatever stats the minister has seen must not support her argument if she's not sharing them.
Look, what we're doing is getting on with what works. What we're doing is investing in communities.
But how do you know what works?
It's money on the ground. Money on the ground for support services. That's what makes a difference.
But you don't know if it's worse or better.
What a tragedy this is. We asked the minister for an interview today. She declined. The cashless debit card was showing evidence of transforming lives and making communities better, and it was scrapped. And the consequences are negative, hurting families, hurting children. Kids are suffering. Futures are being snuffed out. And the minister is in denial. Why not just do what works? Put your politicking and your ideology aside and just do what works.